The ridiculous design. The circular chamber of the Galactic Defense Council fell silent as Captain Sarah Chen stepped forward. Above her, representatives from 12 different species sat in their elevated seats, their various forms of eyes focused on the holographic display that had just materialized behind her. The ship rotating slowly in the blue light looked nothing like the sleek vessels that protected the galaxy, where the elegant Altarian cruisers flowed like liquid metal through space, and the mighty Corvan dreadnoughts bristled with perfectly symmetrical weapon arrays. The human vessel appeared to be assembled from spare parts. Bulging sensor pods jutted out at odd angles. Weapon emplacements seemed randomly scattered across its hull. Most bizarre of all, the ship's engines were mounted in clusters that defied every known principle of aerospace engineering. "This," Captain Chen said, her voice steady despite the murmurs rippling through the chamber, "is the UES Defiance, Earth's contribution to the Galactic Defense Fleet." The sound that followed could only be described as the galaxy laughing. The Zephyrian representative's crystalline form chimed like wind bells. The Corvan admiral's deep rumble shook the chamber walls. Even the normally stoic Altarians allowed themselves small musical sounds of amusement. Ambassador Kellax of the Triumvirate Council rose from his seat, his 3 arms gesturing toward the hologram. "Captain Chen, we appreciate humanity's enthusiasm for joining our defense efforts. However, this creation appears to be more of an art project than a warship." More laughter rippled through the assembly. Chen's jaw tightened, but she maintained her composure. Behind her, Admiral Rodriguez placed a weathered hand on her shoulder, a silent reminder to stay diplomatic. "I understand your concerns, Ambassador," Chen replied. "The Defiance may not conform to traditional design aesthetics, but I assure you it's fully functional." "Functional for what?" The question came from General Thax, the Corvan military leader whose species had been building warships for 3,000 years. "Those weapon placements make no tactical sense. Your engines are positioned to create maximum instability. And what purpose do those protrusions serve?" Chen glanced at Admiral Rodriguez, who gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head. Their orders were clear. Reveal nothing about the ship's true capabilities. Not yet. "The Defiance incorporates several experimental technologies," she said carefully. "We believe it will prove its worth in the field." "Experimental indeed," laughed Ambassador Kellax. "Perhaps it would be best if humanity focused on support roles while learning proper starship design from more experienced races." The insult hit harder than intended. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Defense Alliance 3 years ago, after first contact had revealed they were far from alone in the universe. In that time, they had been treated as junior partners, their contributions dismissed as primitive attempts to match superior alien technology. "Of course," Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward, his diplomat's smile never wavering. "We're honored to serve the Alliance in whatever capacity you deem appropriate." 3 hours later, Chen sat in the Defiance's captain's quarters, staring at their new orders on her personal display. As expected, they had been assigned to the most boring duty possible, escorting supply convoys through the Nexus Belt, a region of space so safe that most captains used it for training runs. A chime at her door interrupted her brooding. "Enter, Lieutenant." Commander Marcus Webb stepped inside, his engineer's uniform still bearing grease stains from the ship's final preparations. His dark eyes sparkled with barely contained excitement. "Let me guess," he said, settling into the chair across from her desk. "Patrol duty?" "Convoy escort through the Nexus Belt," Chen confirmed. "The Council's way of keeping us busy without risking any real responsibility." Marcus grinned. "Perfect. Gives us time to run full diagnostics on all our special systems without anyone watching." Chen looked at her chief engineer with appreciation. Marcus Webb was one of the few people who truly understood what they had built. While the galaxy saw a cobbled-together mess, he saw humanity's greatest technological achievement disguised as incompetence. "Any word from the research teams on Titan?" she asked. Dr. Patel's latest report came in this morning. "The quantum resonance arrays are performing beyond expectations. The metamorphic hull plating is responding perfectly to neural commands. And the zero-point energy core is stable at 97% efficiency." Chen nodded. Every ridiculous-looking protrusion on the Defiance's Hull served a purpose that no alien race had yet discovered. The scattered weapon placements weren't random. They were positioned according to quantum field equations that allowed for impossible firing angles. The asymmetrical engine configuration didn't create instability. It tapped into dimensional variance to achieve speeds that should have been physically impossible. And the AI? Marcus's grin widened. Aria is fully integrated and eager to show what she can do. Aria, Adaptive Resonance Intelligence Array, was perhaps humanity's greatest secret. Unlike the logic-based artificial intelligences used by other species, Aria was modeled on human intuition and creativity. She could make leaps of tactical reasoning that pure logic couldn't achieve. Good, Chen said, standing up. Signal the crew. We ship out at 0800 tomorrow. Time to show the galaxy what a joke warship can do. The next morning, the Defiance undocked from the orbital station with little fanfare. A few alien crews watched from observation decks, probably taking bets on how long it would take the strange human ship to break down. Chen sat in her captain's chair as they cleared the station's gravity well. The bridge around her looked as unconventional as the ship's exterior. Instead of the clean, symmetrical layouts favored by other species, the Defiance's command center resembled mission control back on Earth. Screens and displays everywhere, each crew member surrounded by the tools they needed to do their job. Course laid in for Nexus Station Alpha, reported Navigator Torres from her position at what looked like 3 different control panels jury-rigged together. Execute, Chen ordered. The ship's movement felt different from anything the galaxy had seen before. Where other vessels accelerated smoothly, the Defiance seemed to slide through space, its unconventional engines creating ripples in space-time itself. "Ma'am," called Lieutenant Okafor from the communications station, "we're receiving a priority message from Nexus Station Alpha." On screen, the image that appeared showed a harried-looking Altarian station commander. "UES Defiance, this is Commander Veltar. 3 of our supply convoys have reported unusual sensor readings in the outer system. Long-range scans are showing anomalous energy signatures moving through the asteroid fields." Chen exchanged glances with Marcus. "What kind of energy signatures, Commander?" "Unknown. They don't match anything in our databases. The readings are old. Very old." "Understood, Commander. We'll investigate on our way to the rendezvous point." As the transmission ended, Chen felt a familiar tingle of anticipation. Perhaps their boring patrol duty was about to become more interesting. "Aria," she said aloud, "analyze all available data on these energy readings." The ship's AI responded in a voice that sounded almost human, with just enough electronic undertone to remind everyone what they were talking to. "Analysis complete, Captain. The energy signatures show quantum resonance patterns consistent with technology at least 50,000 years old. Cross-referencing with historical databases. Match found. The main screen filled with data that made everyone on the bridge sit up straighter. The patterns match archaeological records from the Veil Nebula excavations," Aria continued. "The extinct civilization known as the Devourers used similar quantum signatures in their war machines." "The Devourers," Marcus whispered. "But they've been extinct for millennia." "That's what everyone thought," Chen said grimly. She had studied the historical records. The Devourers had once conquered half the galaxy before mysteriously vanishing. Their technology had been so advanced that even 50,000 years later, no one fully understood how it worked. "Captain," Navigator Torres called out, her voice tight with tension, "I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions in the asteroid field. Something big is moving out there." Chen stood up. "Red alert. All hands to battle stations." Warning lights bathed the bridge in crimson as the crew prepared for possible combat. Around them, the Defiance's hidden systems began to come online. Weapon ports that had looked like random hull bumps started to glow with barely contained energy. Sensor arrays that appeared to be decorative flourishes, extended and focused. "Whatever's out there," Chen said to her crew, "remember that everyone thinks we're just a joke. Let's keep it that way until we know what we're dealing with." On the main screen, space itself seemed to twist as something enormous began to emerge from the asteroid field. The thing that slowly revealed itself was like nothing any of them had ever seen. A vessel that seemed to be grown rather than built, its dark surface pulsing with veins of sickly light. "Captain," Arya's voice was unusually quiet. "That vessel matches Devourer design specifications exactly. Scans indicate it's been dormant for approximately 53,000 years. And now it's waking up," Chen said. As if responding to her words, the alien vessel's lights grew brighter. Then, without warning, it launched itself toward the nearest inhabited system with speed that defied physics. Chen realized with growing dread that their boring patrol duty had just become the most important mission in galactic history. And the only thing standing between an ancient nightmare and billions of innocent lives was humanity's joke warship. "All stop," she ordered. "Send a priority transmission to Galactic Command. Tell them the Devourers are back." The awakening storm, the emergency session of the Galactic Defense Council, convened within hours of the Defiance's report. Captain Chen watched from the ship's communication center as representatives from across the galaxy argued over grainy sensor readings and ancient historical data. "The human vessel reports encountering a single dormant ship," Ambassador Kellax was saying, his three arms gesturing dismissively. "Even if this is truly Devourer technology, one ship cannot threaten the entire galaxy." Admiral Vextar of the Corvan military leaned forward, his massive frame casting shadows across the chamber. "Captain Chen, your sensor data is limited. How can you be certain this vessel poses a significant threat?" Chen felt the familiar frustration of being dismissed, but kept her voice level. "Admiral, the ship we encountered was only the first. Our deep space arrays are detecting similar energy signatures awakening throughout the galaxy. Dozens of them, possibly hundreds." "Impossible," scoffed the Zephyrian representative. "Our own sensor networks would have detected such a massive presence. Not if they were using quantum phase shifting to remain dormant," interrupted Aria's voice through the communication link. The AI's sudden contribution caused a stir among the alien representatives, most of whom still viewed artificial intelligence as a curiosity rather than a legitimate source of analysis. General Thax's voice rumbled with annoyance. "Are we now taking strategic advice from human computer programs?" Before Chen could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the council chamber. A young Altarian aide rushed to Ambassador Kellax's side, whispering urgently. The ambassador's crystalline form began to pulse with distressed colors. "What is it?" Admiral Vextar demanded. "The Third Fleet," Kellax said, his voice hollow. "They were conducting exercises in the Gamma sector. We've lost contact with all 37 ships." The chamber fell silent. The Third Fleet was one of the Alliance's most powerful forces, commanded by experienced Corvan officers and equipped with the latest weapons technology. "Lost contact?" General Thax stood slowly. "You mean communication failure?" "No." Kellax's form flickered with deeper shades of distress. "We mean they're gone. Long-range sensors show only debris." Chen felt ice forming in her stomach. 37 warships destroyed completely. "How long ago?" "The attack began 17 minutes ago. By the time our sensors registered the engagement, it was already over." Marcus Webb, who had been monitoring from his engineering station, looked up at Chen with grim understanding. The Devourers weren't just awakening, they were awakening hungry. "Council members," Chen said, trying to keep the urgency out of her voice. "We need to mobilize every available ship. If the Third Fleet was destroyed that quickly, the human is right." General Thax interrupted, surprising everyone. "Issue immediate mobilization orders. All fleets to converge on the Gamma sector." But it was already too late. Over the next 6 hours, Chen watched helplessly as the galaxy's defenses crumbled. The Second Fleet, racing to investigate the Third Fleet's destruction, vanished without even sending a distress call. The Fifth Fleet managed to engage the enemy for almost 3 minutes before their final transmission cut to static. Each destroyed fleet represented thousands of lives and decades of military development. The Devourers were systematically erasing the galaxy's ability to defend itself, and they were doing it faster than anyone could respond. "Captain," Lieutenant Okafor called from communications. "We're receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Rodriguez on Earth." The Admiral's face appeared on screen, looking older than Chen had ever seen him. Behind him, the flags of Earth's United Nations hung in solemn reminder of humanity's brief but determined presence in galactic affairs. Sarah, he said without preamble, how much of the Defiance's true capabilities have you revealed? None, sir. As ordered. Good. Change of orders. The Council is mobilizing the remaining fleets for a final stand at the Nexus Gate. You're to join the defensive formation. Chen felt her heart sink. The Nexus Gate was the primary hyperspace route to the galaxy's core worlds. If the Devourers broke through there, billions would die. Sir, with respect, one ship won't make a difference in a fleet engagement. But if we could operate independently... Negative. The Council wants every available vessel in the defensive line. That includes our joke warship. The transmission ended, leaving Chen staring at the blank screen. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly, but she could feel their tension. They all knew what was coming. Aria, she said finally. Tactical analysis. What are our chances in a conventional fleet engagement against Devourer technology? Based on observed combat data, Captain, the probability of Alliance victory in direct engagement is less than 0.3%. The Devourer's quantum phase weaponry can ignore conventional shields, and their adaptive hulls make them nearly indestructible to standard armaments. And if we used our real capabilities? There was a pause that seemed longer than the AI's usual processing time. That would change the parameters considerably, Captain. Chen made her decision. Marcus, how long would it take to fully activate all our hidden systems? The engineer looked up from his displays. About 20 minutes for full integration, but... Captain, if we do this in front of the entire fleet, the secret will be out. Chen finished. I know. She stood up and addressed her crew. Listen carefully, everyone. We have a choice to make. We can follow orders, join the fleet engagement, and probably die alongside everyone else. Or we can trust in what we've built here and fight. This battle our way, Navigator Torres spoke first. What exactly are you proposing, Captain? The Devourers are ancient and powerful, but they're fighting the same way they did 50,000 years ago. They expect conventional tactics, conventional weapons, conventional thinking. Chen gestured toward the view screen where space flickered, with the distant lights of assembling fleets. What they're not expecting is humanity. Lieutenant Okafor grinned. When you put it like that, Captain, I'm in. One by one, the rest of the crew voiced their agreement. They had trained for this moment, worked for it, dreamed of the day when they could show the galaxy what human ingenuity could accomplish. Aria, Chen said, settling back into her captain's chair. Begin full system activation. All hidden weapons, all experimental technology, everything. Acknowledged, Captain. Initiating metamorphic hull transformation. Around them, the ship began to change. The ridiculous-looking protrusions shifted and reconfigured, revealing sleek weapon arrays and sensor clusters. The asymmetrical engines aligned into perfect geometric patterns that seemed to bend space around them. What had looked like a cobbled-together mistake now revealed itself as a masterpiece of advanced engineering. Quantum armor online, Marcus reported. 0-point energy core at maximum output. All weapon systems charged and ready. Captain, Torres called out, excitement creeping into her voice. I'm detecting multiple Devourer signatures approaching. The Nexus Gate, they're not bothering with stealth anymore. On the main screen, the enemy vessels emerged from hyperspace like nightmares made real. Dark organic shapes that pulsed with malevolent energy, they moved with purpose toward the assembled Alliance fleet. Chen watched as the first Devourer ship engaged the defensive line. Energy beams that should have been absorbed by shields simply passed through them like they weren't there. Alliance weapons struck Devourer hulls only to have the damage heal almost instantly. It's a massacre, whispered someone behind her. Not yet, Chen said firmly. Aria, plot an intercept course, we're going hunting. The Defiance broke away from the defensive formation, accelerating toward the Devourer fleet at speeds that made other ships look motionless. As they closed the distance, Chen could see the alien vessels more clearly. They weren't just ships, they were living weapons, evolved over millennia for the single purpose of consuming everything in their path. Multiple enemy vessels converging. On our position, Torres reported. They've noticed us. Good, Chen said. Let's see how they handle a real challenge. Fire when ready. The first shots from the Defiance struck their targets with weapons no Devourer had ever encountered. Quantum disruptors that unraveled matter at the subatomic level. Gravity cannons that created localized black holes. Phase shift missiles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. For the first time in 50,000 years, Devourer ships began to die. "Target destroyed," Marcus called out in amazement. Their adaptive hulls couldn't compensate for quantum disruption, but the victory was short-lived. More Devourer vessels turned toward them, their ancient minds recognizing a true threat for the first time since their awakening. "Incoming fire," Torres warned. The Defiance twisted through space in patterns that defied physics, its metamorphic hull shifting to deflect attacks that would have destroyed any other ship. But there were so many enemies and more arriving every minute. "Captain," Arya said, "I'm detecting a weakness in their formation. The lead vessel appears to be coordinating the others through quantum entanglement. If we could destroy it, we—" "Break their coordination," Chen finished. "Plot a course to the command ship." What followed was the most desperate flight of Chen's career. The Defiance danced between energy beams and gravitational anomalies, using every trick of human engineering to stay alive. Around them, the space battle raged as Alliance ships fought and died against overwhelming odds. But slowly, impossibly, the tide began to turn. The Defiance's weapons found their marks again and again, each shot proving that Devourer technology wasn't invincible. Other Alliance ships, seeing the human vessel's success, began to adapt their tactics. "Command ship in range," Torres announced. "All weapons, full power," Chen ordered. "This ends now." The Defiance's final salvo struck the Devourer command vessel with enough force to shatter a moon. For a moment, the ancient ship's hull held. Then quantum fire spread across its surface, unmaking the bonds that held its matter together. As the command ship died, the effect rippled through the entire Devourer fleet. Without coordination, the ancient vessels began to falter. Some fled into hyperspace. Others simply powered down, as if their will to fight had died with their leader. The silence that followed was broken only by the soft hum of the Defiance's engines. Around them, the surviving Alliance ships hung motionless, their crews trying to process what they had just witnessed. "Captain," Lieutenant Okafor said quietly, "we're receiving transmissions from every ship in the fleet. They want to know what we are." Chen looked around her bridge at the crew who had just saved the galaxy, then smiled. "Tell them we're human, and we're just getting started." In the years that followed, the galaxy would never again mistake humanity for a junior partner. The joke warship had become a legend, and with it the understanding that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't superior technology, it's the courage to think differently. The Devourers never returned. Perhaps they learned that the galaxy was no longer defenseless. Or perhaps they simply recognized that some species were too dangerous to wake. Human ships began to appear throughout Alliance space, each one as unconventional and effective as the Defiance. Other races started to study human tactics, human creativity, human stubbornness in the face of impossible odds. And Captain Sarah Chen, sitting in her captain's chair aboard humanity's first true warship, knew that this was only the beginning of what her species could accomplish among the stars.